Number 4 asks us to simplify this expression, secant x times cosecant x minus tangent x all over secant x times cosecant x. Now the first thing that jumps out at me with this one is that we've got secant x cosecant x in the numerator and in the denominator. Now be careful with this, because a lot of people look at this and they want to cancel these secant x cosecant x and the secant x cosecant x down here. You can't do that. I don't really like the term cancel. I try to use divide to 1 as much as I can, because what we're doing when we cancel a term that's on the top and the bottom is we're dividing, and we're dividing to 1. Now here we can't divide this top by secant x cosecant x and just cancel this out, because there's no secant x cosecant x in this other term. We're not multiplying the whole numerator by secant x cosecant x. But what we can do here is we can separate this fraction out. And let me show you what we do there. We're going to separate the numerator. So we get secant x cosecant x over our denominator, secant x cosecant x, minus tangent x over secant x cosecant x. Be careful with this too. Some people will try to separate out two terms in a denominator. That doesn't work. You can separate the terms of the numerator and just keep the denominator the same in both of your terms. And if you think about it, if we were going the opposite direction, the way that we would subtract these two fractions is by subtracting the numerator and getting this, and keeping the denominator the same. All right, so the reason that we did this is because now these can divide to 1. This secant x cosecant x divided by secant x cosecant x is just 1. And then minus. And while we're doing this, let's go ahead and there's nothing that's gonna cancel there, or that is going to that we can factor out. There's nothing that jumps out as being an identity that we can use. So let's turn everything into sine and cosine. Put everything in terms of sine or cosine. So tangent is going to be sine x divided by cosine x. And then in the denominator, secant x is 1 over cosine, and cosecant is 1 over sine. All right. So this is ugly. Let's first, so we've got 1 minus, and let's keep this ugly for just a minute. And let's change this down here. Let's multiply those together. So this is just 1 over cosine x sine x. All right, now we can make this less ugly by, instead of dividing by 1 over cosine x sine x, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So this is 1 minus sine x over cosine x, and then we're going to multiply by the reciprocal here. So we get times cosine x sine x, and if you like, over 1. And so now notice we're multiplying these together. We've got a cosine in the numerator, a cosine in the denominator. So this is 1 minus sine times sine. So that's 1 minus sine squared, which we should recognize by now is equal to cosine squared x. And that's going to be our answer.